a strange old match, really. Austria 0, France 1. Tournament favourites getting off to a winning start. They weren't great, though, were they, really? I think everyone's going to be obviously talking about the Belgium match and how they limited to losing against Slovakia. But I think here, at the end of the day, we are looking at a side who are playing like a team below Australia, Iran, Morocco in the FIFA rankings. And yes, I looked that up. And they looked like they could be got at, however hard certain midfielders ran around.
But you know what? I think there's an argument that this, despite the names, is actually their most difficult game of the group. Because
Right.
Austria are good. They're good recently. They had a plan. They had a plan that I thought worked quite well. I don't know how Austria could have played it any differently or any better. But France was still clearly superior to them.
Yeah.
And you got the impression that they they could dominate without needing the ball all the time. You got the impression they could turn it up whenever they want. And I guess this is the thing with France. The bits where they turn it up, you think, okay, they're a lot better than everyone else in this tournament. And, you know, they weren't really required to do that a lot of the time, I don't think. But I guess the thing is, if you're meaning to be like less fatalistic for, say, England's chances or anyone else's chances, you would say there were definitely moments in, say, Euro 2020. Like there was the game they went out against Switzerland. There was 25 minutes of that where they played better than anyone else played in the tournament at any other stage. Where Pogba was really on it, and
that's what he did. He scored that banger, and he did 15 celebrations.
yeah, that's the one. That's the one. But the thing is, just because you have that feeling at moments that, oh my God, they're so much better than everyone else, that doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to win it, which I guess feeds back to your original point.
Well, it really upsets me because I obviously said N'Golo Kanté is very much our Le Henderson, and he's I've got egg on my face.
We fucking wish.
He was absolutely tearing around, wasn't he?
They had a great debate in the ITV studio. They've got the best pundits, I reckon, on balance. But anyway, they were having a debate about like whether it was a product of him just being brilliant anyway, or him playing in a lesser league and therefore kind of mailing it in for a season and conserving his energy that way.
Fresh,
but maybe he needed that because he was in not great physical shape for the last year at Chelsea.
Well, exactly.
So it's like a sort of convalescence course almost.
Yes, yeah, I like that. But he was just outstanding, and it was very cool that I think because we've had him in the Premier League for so long, we know he's not just a defensive midfielder, or rather just like a sitting midfielder. He does drive with the ball. He does that very well. And it was funny in that team, even with Griezmann, to the right of him, he was the one bossing it. Like he was the one, getting their energy going forward and spraying little 1-2s about and being a little nuisance. And then when he catches up, with, was it Baumgartner who was running through on goal?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
When he catches up with him, bear in mind he catches up with him ahead of Theo Hernandez, who's one of the fastest fullbacks in the world.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
Yeah,
It's like he's on a Segway.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
that's it, yeah. Because he's not going too fast, but he's not going too slow.
It's
It's like Boys to Men.
You want to be in the cycle lane with that, mate. Yeah.
But Baumgartner, he had a chance, I think in the first half, wasn't it, when he didn't even get a corner from, which was very, very upsetting.
Yeah.
If he finishes that, the game, the whole France may have had to have worked a little bit harder and come out their shell a bit more.
Yeah, that's true. Although you would say that really the amount of proper chances that Austria created was quite minimal.
Thin,
I mean,
right?
that's the thing, isn't it? That France are so good, and they normally have this degree of defensive security as well. I mean, the interesting thing is, of course, Saliba, with his performances in the friendlies, found his way into the 11 for this first game, which obviously there'll be a lot of Arsenal fans listening going, well, why wasn't he in already? Well, because international coaches are conservative, and that is the way it is.
Yeah.
Southgate and Deschamps are kind of in many ways quite interchangeable. But it was interesting that
I'll take his trophy cabinet.
yeah, exactly. It was interesting that Saliba was actually at fault for that. And I think we can glide through watching him on the Premier League and go, he's absolutely impeccable. He's not been impeccable for France so far, and I think generally he was decent. And I think they will go forward with Saliba and Upamecano. And Upamecano, despite having a very poor season for Bayern, was actually really good.
Yeah.
But, that you think the cross originally comes in and Saliba just takes like quite a reckless lunge for it, completely misses it, and there's this massive gap behind him that Baumgartner gets into. And, like you said, that could have been really costly for them.
How much of Saliba's form is linked to not playing behind Kanté, though? Because this was his first competitive appearance in 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So you feel like Kanté comes in and suddenly everyone just feels a little bit calmer.
Yeah.
Everyone's job
relaxed,
is a little bit easier.
It's funny, though, because if Aurélien Tchouameni hadn't got injured a month ago, Kanté would be sitting there looking cool in a tracksuit.
Yeah, that's fair.
There was a lot of decent looks in this match, to be honest. I think Ranić with his solid kind of blue blazer, white sort of shirt kind of combo. Antoine Griezmann, he looks like Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. Like, his hair is thick. It looks like he could snap bits off. He looks magnificent at the moment.
Every time I see him throughout a season, I keep thinking that I've forgotten how good looking he is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like
he's relatively little, isn't he?
Yeah, but that adds to it, doesn't he?
It does. He's got that lovely golden ratio.
Yeah.
Like Tom Cruise.
Oh, here we go. Because I'm in here with you two, it's a flag for the under 6 foot part.
Yes, please.
This is a Short Kings pod only.
I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Try to get his kids.
You're already,
They're
the only reason we invited you is so you can buy us beer. Did you get just on the match from Austria's perspective as well? Did you just get the impression that everything they tried to do was a bit tentative? It's not so much that they didn't quite have belief, but it was all those final third passes that needed to be played straight away just weren't.
But don't you think the first half really informs that? Because in the first half, the way Austria played it, they played it like they always play it. They went out there thinking, right, we're going to press, because this has given us so much success over the last little while. And then, obviously 25 minutes in, unless you're paying no attention at all, you're thinking, this is the worst team in the world to do this against.
Yeah.
Because we might not get through them, and when we lose the ball, we're fucked.
Yeah.
A bit because you've got Griezmann who can get the ball up the pitch and transfer it really quickly. You've got Mbappé, you've got Thuram, you've got Dembélé. And to be fair, I think, not to talk about it from a damage limitation perspective, but it could have been a lot worse for Austria if France had taken a few of those chances in the first half.
Yeah, Dembele's miss was horrible. Giroud's air shot. I want to draw everyone's attention to 71 minutes into the game. Ousmane Dembele comes off, Adrien Rabiot comes off for Kolo Muani and Camavinga. Now, in one set of substitutions, however the performance went up to that point, that was when I was like, why are we even bothering now? They are going to... It's absurd. I don't know, it's well worn. We talk about how great their squad is. That's a piss take of a substitution.
Can you not bring on Jonathan Klaus so we feel we have a chance?
Or just, I don't know, like Sarkozy or someone. Just bring someone. If every substitution France make in this World Cup, they have to bring on someone else. French. He's got to be French. Unrelated to the team.
Well, is this just France being Francie, though? Is it like they never really put teams to the sword at this point in tournaments?
Yeah, I did think that. Like, there was an element of them. Not they weren't looking quite slapstick, but you're like, well, anyone could do this with this group of players. You're kind of looking at Deschamps and being like, what do you actually do beyond have a good CV? But yeah, they just find a way, don't they? Nature finds a way.
But they could be got out on the break. Maybe. Possibly.
On the break of the nose.
On the break of the nose. Well, yeah, that is the big story. Obviously, Kylian Mbappé looks like he might be out for the next match. His nose is confirmed to be broken. And
did we need medical assessment for that? It was on the other side of his face.
Well, do you remember Alana Kennedy, the Matilda's... I think
yes.
She played up front? Her nose was just the other side of her face, and she saw herself on the big screen that time, and she was like... no. No, mate.
Oh, Struth, fucking hell.
No, my nose is fucked.
My nose is in New Zealand.
I just wonder if the physio got him up and checked if he was conscious and went, Kylian, est-ce que tu peux compter pour moi? And he went, oh, I'm fine, man. I'm Irish.
Absolutely fine. Yeah, there's a lot been said about Mbappe's English, sort of English transatlantic sort of French-American accent. It's really good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite enjoyable. It's like he's gone to international school.
Yes, he's on he's with his Marine dad somewhere. but I think there's a lot of talk about obviously him missing the next match. But I mean, I think mainly because they're playing, the Netherlands when the Battle of Nuremberg. I still remember it. 2006, the last time they played a European side in Germany. But what mask are we going to go for in the third match, do you think, with Kylian Mbappe? Because I'm thinking like a Diego Costa sort of Batman-style mask, because he had that for a while, didn't he? Grobbelaar had one for a while, didn't he?
Yeah, but I think if we're going back to Grobbelaar, it's different, because nowadays they're far more sinister.
Yeah,
the technology's improved in 40 years as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, you could argue,
wouldn't you? Yeah. You would hope so. Yeah, I think with this one though, I worry for the parents. I worry for. I mean, your Ben's going to be like, well, we need the Mbappe mask now. It's just another thing to buy, isn't it?
Okay.
They almost certainly.
Well, because
his marketing team are outright will sell ads for it.
Nike, Adidas, or whoever sponsor them are currently just panel beating a bit of metal.
Yeah, sort of Tipex in KM10.
Yeah,
onto the
Don't
cheek.
give them ideas. We could have sold that.
Either way, it'll be divisive, like their shirts. But what mask would you go for, Vish?
I reckon they should lean into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles thing.
Yeah, okay.
They always say he looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. So whatever you have, maybe have a clear face mask. But with like a coloured, like eye guard that goes around his head.
What are the rules about sort of trailing kind of bandana tassels?
Or what are the rules on having it like a purple, but he has to carry the Donatello stick?
Yes.
Are there rules against carrying a stick?
Nunchucks in the pocket?
Presumably the swords are out the question.
Swords out.
I mean, he might have the mask already, because you might have seen a few years ago when Thiago Silva was still at PSG, actually. They came in the dressing room, and he was young then, he was like 21 or something. They came in, and Thiago Silva and a couple of the other players who were sort of sniggering presented him with a Louis Vuitton box, and he opened it, and there was like a Donatello mask in it. And the PSG players, they're all like dying of laughter, and he's like smiling and like sniggering politely, as if to say, God, I'm in here with like a bunch of children. It's awful.
I'm so glad I'm being paid shitloads for this.
It's like I've got to laugh, so it seems like I'm a good sport, but it's just not funny.
That's the most PSG story I've ever heard, because it's a gift that isn't funny, which they we'll put it in a box. Does anyone have a box lying around? And it's a Louis Vuitton box.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm almost annoyed that Mbappe managed to kind of, with the own goal, he beat his man and whipped it in quite nicely and kind of forced the error a little bit. He'd done 2 bad, and then this was 1 good. And I wanted 3 bad from Mbappe. I wanted to feel like England could win something here.
So you were kind of looking for the perfect hat-trick, because actually you could discount the assist and you could include the booking, like
exactly,
coming on and claiming squatters' rights on the pitch just to get the game stopped.
I guess like what your defence would be is I was just completely disorientated.
Yeah,
I didn't know
I'd had my bell rung, ref.
But also like. A lot of people were kicking off about that. I like it was gamesmanship, but I thought it was quite smart gamesmanship, because they, the fourth official was trying to signal to get the substitutes on. Yeah. It didn't happen, so he just came on the pitch. Although, if this wouldn't happen to Kylian Mbappe, because he's probably cool enough this wouldn't happen to him. It probably happened to me. But imagine if you tried to do that and like they hoofed a long ball up and it just hit your nose again.
That really hurts. It's not really a tournament until, unless you've got France's very best player.
Well, that's the thing. Of course, he is a doubt for the game against the Netherlands on Friday, which I'll be going to, actually. But I think... Are you
going to complain like people complain when Messi doesn't play in MLS?
Yeah, that's right.
We've been lied
cardboard
to.
Sign. Yeah. But I think if there's one thing that's going to get him out of his hospital bed, it's the idea of, I fancy a little go at the Dutch.
Yeah,
I really fancy a little go at the Dutch.
Yeah.
Why would you risk it?
A couple of tampons up the nose? Come on.
But so
he's not really a header of the ball, really.
Well, they tried that initially. But like, because his nose,
come out of his eye.
Because part of his nose was the other way. They were like, where does this go?
And so it fell tampon, out. Right.
I guess the thing is, though, getting clattered by Kevin Danso, I think, is something quite particular. Because Danso is a unit who... I mean, I respect him for it. He got away with about 4 bookable fouls last night. Obviously, that wasn't one of them.
No.
Yeah, but
It was kind of the back of his shoulder, wasn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, it was.
Do you think if he got sent off, he'd be Danso on his own? Yeah,
There was more fan trouble before the game. Some Austrian fans were seen snapping baguettes in front of the French fans. I do like this food on food violence that we've got. It's really strong, isn't it? I just feel that. I worry that the Austrians have taken the Albanians and kind of stolen their material a little bit.
I don't mind it. Whatever keeps them away from like kicking the shit out of each other.
It's true, actually, yeah. But what are we going to do? We don't really have food, do we?
What would we do? Yeah, what would we do?
Well, I don't know. Do people know to sort of, disrespect chicken tikka masala?
No, it's a good point, actually, yeah.
I don't know if people are aware of that. People
hard to snap chicken tikka masala,
you could it'd be quite satisfying, actually. But you could punch a Yorkshire pudding, couldn't you?
Oh, lovely.
You'll have to flatten it with your fist.
I'm talking about one of the big ones where people put the entire Sunday lunch in it, which I have to say I think is despicable.
Yeah, that is abhorrent.
I very much enjoy we've hit your limit there, Andy. You can see, I noticed my mum, for some reason, had these tiny little baby ones, little baby Yorkshire puddings, but just like about the size of a 50p coin.
Like Aunt Bessie's?
Yeah. Could you jam loads of them into a big Yorkshire pudding?
Up Mbappe's nose.
And shove it up Mbappe's nose, for crying out loud. Hey, speaking of England, one fan had I think a heavy night, a difficult night. He woke up on Sunday morning. He woke up on Monday morning because the match was on Sunday after attending the England game. He woke up in the stadium, still inside, just kind of like just waking up inside the stadium.
Do you think that was real?
Yeah, have we had this verified?
I thought that it wasn't real, but he was shivering like a fucker. Like, I mean, it was 4 a.m. He was really
coming
cold.
down from something, Peter.
he was shivering because he's really cold. So I kind of felt for him a little bit, and I do think it probably was real.
Did he have the sniffles as well?
He had the sniffle. Yeah. I'd make a terrible dad, wouldn't I? I don't know what.
He was brushing his teeth with his finger as well.
From the sounds of it, he'd have come out and still been in a queue for the tram.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, it was actually probably quite smart. It probably died down by then.
I mean, it sounded like pretty awful, really. The whole supporter experience, and it's not just that game. It's like it feels as if there's this assumption that Germany is ready for a tournament in every possible way because it has the stadiums, it has the transport infrastructure. And by the way, I go to Germany a lot, and I've not been on an on-time train for a very, very long time there. In fact, I've booked my trains for when I go, and one of them's been cancelled already. Well, yeah, but I've not even got there yet.
Olympia Stadion in Berlin is horrific to get home from, especially after a match. It's really rancid. Like they run about 2 metro trains, and you spend most of your time just sort of strolling home. But
when you hear these stories, and Jonathan Liu's written about it in The Guardian, Daniel Story's written about it for The Eye as well. Like the idea that, and I thought about taking my kids out to a game out there. And I thought, well, A, it would take us ages to get there through an affordable route. And B, it would just be like a massive like cattle run for like...
Yeah.
And something that's quite uncomfortable and frightening for them.
Yeah.
And it turns out that it's been like that. Yeah.
Andy Brassel, uncomfortable and frightening.
And it turns out that it's been like that for a lot of people who've like maybe taken their kids for like the potential trip of lifetime. That's really sad.
It's a bit Glastonbury for me. It's a bit like, why bring your kids through this nightmarish situation?
But like,
abroad, I would say. I know you're supposed to be able to do it, but just the infrastructure just is never there, and it's never there in time.
Yeah.
It's horrific. Anyway, right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back with the biggest upsets of the tournament so far.
Let's not take the piss here. I certainly was, and I think you are.
We'll miss him from the tournaments. Belgium nil.
No, we won't. No, we won't.
Belgium nil. Slovakia won the first big one of the tournament. Huge win for Slovakia. It's Martin Dubravka, man. Pound for pound, he is a shot stopper, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's really
loves making mistakes, loves saving shots. It's a wonderful combination.
David Hanko says, we gave it our heart. We didn't win it by being better, but by being happier. You did win it by being better, though, didn't you? You did win it by being better. They had chance after chance, really, to get it over the line at Belgium, but they just couldn't make it, could they?
I mean, can I put it out there and say, Belgium didn't actually play terribly.
No.
The second half, they were pretty good.
Yeah.
Actually, but everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about those 2 goals narrowly disallowed, the Lukaku ones.
Bakayoko rifling in from distance, and I think it was the defender in the end that managed.
Yeah,
to clear it.
I mean, right until I think probably the last 5-10 minutes, what actually quite impressed me about Belgium, who looked way better than any of their performances at the 2022 World Cup, by the way, in which they looked an ageing shambles, I think, was that until you got to that very last little bit, they didn't panic. They just kept sort of being quite methodical and thinking, you know what, we're going to get there eventually. And then in the last 5-10 minutes, they're like, oh shit, we might actually lose here. But
it's a massive upset with the FIFA rankings. Everybody's kind of labouring that point quite a lot.
you and the FIFA rankings, Peter.
I love it.
I never thought you keep drawing us to the numbers.
I just want people to know about the FIFA rankings, guys.
You just want people to know their place.
But I mean, obviously the highlight for me as a tech fan was the smart ball technology. Romelu Lukaku had one of his goals disallowed by a handball by a Penda in the build-up. It's the first time this tech has been used. And did you see that the little kind of...
It's Snicko.
Yeah, the snickometer, yeah.
What's the snickometer?
It's like in cricket. You better explain
right, okay.
it.
So
it slows, if the ball slows down, it you can tell.
Well, no. So in that Snicko in cricket, the way it works is when they want to detect whether the ball has hit the edge of the bat,
right?
When there's been no clear deflection, they will use Snicko, which shows like a sound wave.
Is it sound rather than velocity?
It's sound, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
It's like a tremor.
Yeah, perfect,
right.
yeah. Which is what they detected on the ball, yeah. Even though they couldn't seem to sync it up well on the
actual
TV.
playback, right? Yeah. Okay.
Which felt redundant. Also, it feels just a little bit redundant anyway, because you could see that it hit the hand. You could see that it brushed the hand. So why did you need confirmation that it created a noise?
I think they just really wanted to get this technology out there.
100%,
they're doing their best. But I thought it was a microphone inside the ball for some reason.
Well, it's a chip inside the ball, which would measure the tremor.
Well, that's a different chip to the one that tells whether it's over the line or not.
So like a vibration
Well,
one.
presumably they've just updated the chip so it holds all that information.
Get you a chip that does both, as they say.
Yeah.
So it's
versus the chip they told you not to worry about.
So that's why the proper balls are like £200 when you buy them in a sports shop.
Yeah.
So
you have no way of recording it.
Yeah.
Because the chip's in there.
They've got a fucking
amazing.
iPad in the handy. Have you not headed one of these balls recently?
Really
That's what happened to Mbappe. He didn't hit the shoulder.
I would
he
love
headed
it
an iPad.
if my watch started buzzing in the park.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
Yeah, someone has had a tremor. But if there's a microphone, presumably you could record that microphone at any point and just broadcast what it's actually sort of coming out with. Like the footballers kicking the ball, people talking.
You mean like when some people do this on like TikTok where they attach a GoPro to their cat?
Yeah.
Put it on a ball.
Yeah.
But also, how good would that be? Because sometimes you might kick a ball on the roof.
Yeah.
And it will roll away into the street or onto the railway track.
Yeah.
And some people...
Onto the railway track?
Yeah.
Where do you play football?
But you always see balls, on
you do
on train
see,
tracks.
yeah.
And it takes maybe a month for someone to be brave enough to be like, oh, that looks like quite a nice ball. And then they go and get it. And then it has its own story.
And it goes on.
I'd watch this film.
What, just watching a ball floating around?
Yeah, like Homeward Bound, but with a ball.
A dirty old shoot ball. Yeah. I am fascinated by this technology, and I need to know more about it. And instead of asking you two, I should really Googled it. Are we definitely post the Belgium golden generation now? They are... I'm going to say it, they're third in the FIFA rankings, guys. And that is the true test.
Why don't they have that sewn onto their shirt?
Exactly, yeah.
They might have to if they keep going like this.
It's
like
Marco,
they've got to hold on to.
It's like Marco Arnautovic and his 2010 UEFA Champions League winner boots.
Because nice. Because going into this tournament, I really saw Belgium doing something because they've kind of got rid of some of the bigger egos. They're kind of past that, and Lukaku is on form.
Yeah, but he's not on absolute peak I'm playing under Antonio Conte form.
Right.
So I think there's a big difference between 10 out of 10 Lukaku and like 7.5 out of 10 Lukaku, which is kind of where he is at the moment. In that the movement's great, he's pacey, he's strong, he can finish. First touch isn't great at the moment. And you can tell that he's been carrying an ankle injury since about February, and it's clear. I think there's just that little indefinable bit missing from him.
Is that why
when he's 100% lean and on it like he was under Conte at Inter. You know, if you could bottle that, he would be indisputably one of the best strikers in the world. But whereas now he's just a very, very good striker.
Is that where he put the ball in the net when he was offside, when he could have probably left it?
Could he have left it?
I don't think
know.
he would have gone in.
No?
Yeah, I
Right.
don't think he was going in. Yeah,
No,
I know people
okay.
were saying that, but I wasn't so sure. I thought he had to put it in.
Why didn't you ask your ball? Why didn't you ask... Mr. Ball, were you going in or not? Did you have any intention of nestling in the onion bag?
Oh, Romelu, you didn't have to do that. Who said that? It's the ball.
Well, Belgium weren't wearing their much celebrated, I think, blue and brown colours of their new Tintin inspired kit.
Who's it
Real
celebrated
loss.
by exactly?
Me, all the time, constantly.
You're wearing it around the house.
Do you not like
Yeah,
it?
it's great stuff.
I think it looks a bit creepy, to be honest.
Creepy.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Do you
What,
find
is it like
Tintin
perverted?
creepy?
I just, it's got 1860 Munich away kit written all over it for me.
And is that creepy?
I remember going to Belgium and going in a joke shop when I was a teenager, and the thing about European joke shops is they're half jokes and half sex.
Oh yeah.
And so
yeah.
I went, there's a Tintin magazine here. Oh, Tint. Oh, Snowy. What is he doing to Snowy? Oh, my God. Awful. But speaking of sartorial lack of elegance, a YouTuber in the Germany-Scotland match managed to get right to the side of the pitch, just dressed as the Euros mascot. I don't know how they'd managed to get hold of an official mascot costume, but they managed to get there and they managed to just walk straight in the stadium. Rather worrying, I think.
You know what? I think they need, after the Champions League final, with that thing at the beginning with all those people trying to run on and win the Russian booty.
Right.
I think there should be a special tournament prison for idiots that run on the pitch.
Is it like, well, we had FIFA prison, didn't we? Every time the FIFA carnival comes to town, we imprison everybody, don't we? So it's happened without trial.
I think is it in American? Maybe it's just in American stadiums, but they have like
do have holding cells, don't
cells
they?
in sporting arenas.
Imagine that. But they don't drink that much. That's the surprising thing.
Americans.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
It's
like
always-
in
it's
stadiums.
always like piss weak beer,
It's
isn't
always
it?
piss weak beer, but I guess you can do it in the stadium. But yeah,
Coors Light.
Coors Light, exactly. Just more Coors
Coors
Light
if you're
in the
listening.
stadium.
Got to mention, didn't you?
They're not listening. But I mean, what would you? So you would have like a holding, like an entire prison, like a little Alcatraz inside.
So we can
Olympia
recreate the
Stadium.
Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon. And I reckon that the hardest substitute out of the two teams should be like the prison guard.
Yes.
Ooh,
Nice.
okay.
Lovely stuff.
37-year-old centre half looking after you, going, you're not so funny now, are you?
Filling
Yeah.
a kettle full of sugar. Awful stuff. All right, well, let's move on elsewhere. Romania 3, Ukraine 0. I am tired of these running orders just being an excuse to bully Andy Brassel. Because written in front of me, I have Andy said Ukraine would be dark horses. They're still dark horses, aren't they, Andy?
Well, they're even darker horses now, aren't they?
You've just made this horse darker.
Yeah,
For crying out loud.
I have.
It's Romania's only second ever win at the Euros. They arrived at the tournament on the back of goalless draws against Bulgaria and Liechtenstein. It was a surprising turn of events in such an emotional atmosphere. I think with all the players and their families and stuff at the end. It was an interesting match. I think.
Yeah, it was a really interesting match, and Romania have been the surprise of the competition so far. I think you look at this performance, particularly after the first goal, because up until the first goal, it felt like Ukraine had it all in order. And when you talked about like it being quite an emotional occasion, it felt as if actually it was a little too much for Ukraine, because player for player, they're obviously far more capable than the Romanian squad. But when that first goal goes in, like Ukraine completely lose the thread, and never really get it back from that point. But Romania were brilliant.
Yeah, are they going to get it back though? That's the question, I think.
Well,
For the sake of your rep.
it's quite doable in this group.
The group is like weird looking now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Really interesting.
Yeah.
A group that you look at the beginning and you think, okay, Belgium and Ukraine are going to walk this, and then the opposite results happen in the first game. That's kind of what you want, isn't it?
Yeah.
Romania is quite a cool story. I think they're probably on their way to being like one of the more favoured, more likeable teams in the tournament, because just the player reaction to the goals were amazing. The fan reaction was great. As you say, when they were celebrating with their families at the end. I think a shitload of Romanians are now trying to get tickets for the game on the weekend against Belgium.
It's on. It's on, lads.
But and it's gonna be a great.
Lukaku can't score. Yeah, I mean the Romanian right back Andrei Ratiu looked after Mudryk quite well, and his hair was completely blue. So speaking of excellent hair choices, are you tutting?
Yeah,
you're not having it?
I feel really bad for Mudryk because it feel like his progression over the last half of the season, he regressed to like a bit of like a headless chicken Mudryk, and you can't be bossed out of a game by a guy with blue hair.
No.
Who looks like he
a
should
bad
be
look.
serving you hot pot in the Rovers' return.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But it wasn't Marge Simpson blue, was it? It was something else entirely.
I think that's worse because it was
Doing it properly, inaccurate.
you've even tried to save money doing this. I'm gonna dye my hair, but I'm not gonna go all out.
I worry about like players who dye their hair at this point in the tournament. You are ruining some perfectly good hotels. You know what I mean? Like when you dye your hair,
I've never dyed my hair.
you're
so-
going to lose your security deposit, and these FAs aren't minted.
Some of them, that is true, actually. I mean, that is the thing. You find that during tournaments, footballers are always in each other's room cutting each other's hair, which is clearly what Mihailo Mudryk, for example, had suffered from. It was quite a sort of supercuts job.
Yeah.
So, like, are you saying you can't get away with dyeing the bathtub, but you can get away with leaving excess hair in it?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, footballers mainly keep themselves completely hairless, don't they? So, I mean, I think they'd probably turn up to they'd turn up to the tournament already prepared, presumably. Goal of the tournament so far has to be Nikolai Stanciu.
Brilliant.
I mean, just something else, wasn't
But it's incredible with Stanciu because he was always such a talent from such an early age, and saw him at Anderlecht and thought, right, this guy is going a really long way. But if you look at his career arc, you can tell exactly what he's followed, and it's not necessarily sporting merit. It's cash.
No.
Because, he's gone through Chinese-funded Czech clubs, he's gone to the Middle East, and that's fine. Making a lot of money out of your career is great. That's fine. If that's what you want to do, fine. And there's a stigma attached to it that I don't think necessarily should be. But of course, you get a sense of, does he want to be the best he can be? And there's definitely a feeling in Romania, and Emmanuel Roche was telling us this on one of the OTC Euro specials that are still on the feed, that there's a sense that he could have been a really great player, but he's maybe not quite, and now he's 30, but at this moment,
He's actually 31, I think.
Yeah,
Wild.
So you sort of think at a moment like this, is he going to step up? He really did. I mean, the level of technique on that was absolutely magnificent. And I also felt sorry for Andrei Lunin, who got it in the neck for that. And I thought it was quite interesting how I think Matvienko went up to him and comforted him. He thought, oh, that's really big of him. And I thought, well, actually, it was your fault. Wasn't it, really?
Oh, never mind.
Even though on the comms, the goalkeeper's getting blamed for it.
Yeah. Dragosin was great, and it was a really, really good match for him. And obviously, this is a huge tournament for Ukraine, bearing in mind what's happening in their country and the surrounding areas. They face Slovakia next on Friday. You'd hope they would get through, wouldn't you?
Well, it's not doable.
No.
I think that's the interesting thing about
pound
this
for
group.
pound, they've got enough to get out, no?
Well, we could be in a situation after this next round where all teams in that group are on 3 points.
I like it. I very much like
all
it.
to play for.
It is indeed. Well, tonight we've got. It's not 2 p.m. game. I don't like this happening so early in the tournament.
Well, this is what happens because it's all staggered, isn't it? Because we had one game on the Friday, so the corresponding game in that group then gets lumped in with the next group.
Yeah.
And
But basically, I've had to take an intercity train journey to fill the time.
Right. Okay.
Today. I just don't know what to do with myself, Peter. Much like you.
From which city are you going to where?
From London to Newcastle.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
I see.
fair.
Right.
Well, at least you can tap away on your little computer to your heart's content. That's absolutely fine. And you love to see it.
Yeah, you do love to see it. It'd be really exciting. I can't wait to see Kvaratskhelia really hit the Euros. And you think if he's going to make the most of a team, I mean, it might well be Turkey, mightn't it?
I know he's only 23, Kvaratskhelia, but it is quite cool that he's getting a taste of European football, international tournament football this early. And I appreciate it's because it's expanded as well. But, there's so many brilliant players across Europe who, just because of the country they played for, weren't able to get this platform. And I appreciate, he's obviously played Champions League and whatever, but you're very excited to see him.
Oh, you're right. I mean, the level of stardom he has back home is considerable. But I think it's quite interesting as well that this summer, Napoli would really like to sell Osimhen and keep Kvaratskhelia, but it might turn out to be the other way around. And it's interesting, both his agent and his dad have come out in recent days and go, yeah, we think he should leave Napoli. I mean, it's just a brilliant sort of, oh yeah, he's just about to play in the Euros and he's available.
Yeah, right.
Moment. So he's got PSG written all over him for next season.
Were you catching strays on Twitter from Lars yesterday afternoon? Was that when he was talking about Turkey or backing them as a dark horse this tournament?
Oh yeah, gentle strays.
Gentle strays, just not it's certainly not point blank anyway. That's good. Portugal have been tipped as outsiders for the trophy after their incredible record in qualifying. Of course, they are kicking off their campaign against the Czech Republic at 8 o'clock. Roberto Martinez clarified yesterday that Cristiano Ronaldo is here on merit, not reputation. He is though, isn't he? I mean, you can't really hide his performances in qualifying and up to the tournament.
Well, there's
and he's rested at the right times, I think.
Yeah, like obviously he is. I think we shit on Ronaldo for being
a wanker.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. But we don't shit on him for his goal scoring record. And it's his numbers in the Saudi League are exceptionally good, and obviously it's not as I was going to say a strenuous a league, but it's not as competitive as the other leagues he could have been playing at this point in his career. But I mean, his numbers are obscene. Yeah. He still has the hunger for it. And probably the most interesting thing, really, is because of the big names in the squad around him, I feel like he's more of a normal bloke with that group of players.
Well, I think now it's shifted to being Cristiano plus 10 to this sense of he's nice to have.
Featuring Cristiano.
Yeah, which is really interesting. I mean, when we were talking about N'Golo Kanté earlier, and the effect that sort of, being able to recuperate and find your best level in a slightly more forgiving environment has had on him. You just wonder, because this will be the biggest stage that a lot of people have seen Cristiano Ronaldo on for a long time. Because let's be honest, people over here do not watch the Saudi Pro League.
People over there don't watch the Saudi
No. And so you just wonder really what you're going to get from him. I mean, I'm not suggesting you're necessarily going to get this Kanté-esque sort of Benjamin Button effect.
I wondered what you were going to say there. But come on.
But the idea of them sort of
he is one of them.
Yeah. They're in Riyadh with sort of neighbouring oxygen tanks or whatever. Quite interesting idea.
But as someone who knows the Portuguese league, is this what's being talked about in Portugal? Is that how people are? He's a nice to have rather than he's stemming the progress of the national team.
It's funny because in Portugal, it's not like everything revolves around him anymore. So now it's really Bruno Fernandes' team, and it's a bit more egalitarian. Whereas obviously everywhere Portugal go, it's still like Beatlemania, and the reaction to him is mad. But whereas in the squad, I mean, I wrote it in the Guardian earlier this week. It's like they used to sit down. Every player who did the daily press conference would sit down. Like the second question at best would be about Ronaldo, and they'd come out and go, "He's the best in the world," as if they were being prodded to say it. It was like they were in a cult. Yeah. It was a sort of mantra. Whereas now they don't feel the need to say that. If they talk about him, they go, "Oh well, he's had an amazing career. It's great to have him here." Not he has to do everything and we have to feed him everything. But it's nice to have. I mean, I would be surprised if he starts all the games. I think they're gonna manage him a little bit. But of course he's got players to do the running for him, and with Portugal he's had that for quite a long time.
And he's become a slightly different player, but it's only taken this sort of transformation has only taken place in the last year, really. But I don't think it's kind of a physical change. I think he's genuinely sort of gone, right, if I'm going to get my target of 150 goals, he will have to buckle down and be more of a team player.
It's funny because his public image is not one of humility at all, obviously, but he's had that humility within the Portugal setup for quite a long time because he's realised for most of the last decade that actually you can't play all the games, you can't do it all on your own, because when he turned up to the 2014 World Cup absolutely broken into bits and he couldn't really do anything. It was not in great physical nick at Euro 2016 when they won it either, and they created this system where he really didn't have to do that much running. You know, they had him in they had a 4-4-2 with him and Nani up front. God, that sounds really retro, doesn't it? But I think the fact that they created this system where they had a striker next to him who wasn't a striker, but essentially someone who could run about a lot for him and be his movement almost. I mean, that gave Portugal a different way of doing things, even if, you know, that was not the apex of the Portuguese football experience. I mean, they've got a much better squad and a much better functioning team now than they did then. I think that's pretty clear. Of course, that's also a reminder that the best team doesn't always win the tournament, which is what makes it so exciting.
Cheers for watching another fantastic clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Make sure you click like on this video and subscribe to the channel, which means you will not miss a single upload.